The month of October is Drawing Challenge month in the art community, and for the third year in a row, I deluded myself into thinking that I could finish Inktober. But this year was different, and I did it. Here's how. In the past, there were 3 problems which meant that my habits, and therefore my challenge at doing Inktober, would not succeed. The first problem was setting my expectations way too high. I wanted to be like one of those cool artists that you see that whip out masterpieces every single day for the month of October. And I didn't take into consideration that maybe I just don't draw as well as I thought I could. And I was definitely living in that gap where my taste or my imagination was greater than my actual skill, and seeing the things that I produced not quite hitting the mark, that was kind of discouraging and didn't really make it that fun for me. Problem 2 is not dedicating enough time to each drawing. Things happen, life gets in the way. I think in the past I just didn't have enough planning and very good foresight to take into account the things of life that come in the way, and I just didn't dedicate enough time to making Inktober work, so that's on me. The third problem that I encountered in previous years, I'd say my art muscle was just not very strong. And so what I mean by that is that I wasn't very good at drawing consistently over a long period of time. It's just something that I never really did. So my past attempts in trying to do Inktober would just be like, I guess, similar to my couch potato body trying to run a marathon with no training. So all these problems together just meant that I grew increasingly frustrated with my work, disappointed in myself, and ultimately not completing Inktober. Now this year I'd like to say I've grown as an artist, and also reflecting on those reasons as to why past Inktobers didn't work out, I've put some ground rules to hopefully make sure that I succeed. And secret, yes, you already know, I did it. Woohoo! So the first thing is to definitely lower expectations. I definitely felt that blank page paralysis when starting drawings and feeling like I needed to reach a certain level of finesse, expertise, detail, execution in the drawings, but like across the challenge, I definitely lowered those expectations. It just made it more manageable, and also introducing alcohol markers to bring in color, I think really helped with that as well. But yes, lower those expectations. So the second thing that I tried to implement was to use a medium that I'm like kind of familiar with, 70% familiar but 30% new. So I would say the familiar tool that I used was my fine liners, and then the new tool would be the alcohol markers. I've become a lot more comfortable in drawing with a medium that you can't erase, and accepting the mistakes that you make along the way, learning on those, reflecting on them, and incorporating them into the drawing. I've just gotten better at that over time. Adding color into my drawings helped kind of like divert away from messy line art or insufficient detail, as it was a fun way to add interest into my drawings. And the third, I guess, rule that I implemented for Inktober this year was that I didn't need to draw a prompt per day, but I needed to finish Inktober. So planning ahead is totally invaluable in any sort of challenge and in everyday life in general. As I mentioned, like life just gets in the way, and sometimes it's just not possible to draw every single day. For example, there were like 4 to 5 days in October where I needed to travel, and I went to Perth and saw my friends get married. Woo! I knew that this travel I would not have adequate time to draw. I like still brought my sketchbook anyway, but realistically I think I only drew 3 lines during the 4 days we were there, like literally like 1, 2, 3, and like that was it during the whole time we were there. But giving myself the permission to spread out those Inktober prompts, do multiple within a day where I had a bit more time, just like lessened the stress if the schedule of the day prevented me from completing any prompts. It helped me relieve the pressure of not having to put out an unsatisfactory drawing. Granted though, there is a page where I'm like, you didn't really draw that great for these, but that's fine, that's fine. So giving myself permission to spread out those drawings across the month, doing multiple prompts in a day, meant that I didn't need to stress out if my schedule of the day meant that I couldn't do any drawing that day. My process for Inktober this year was, at the start I was like really tossing up between if I wanted Inktober to be more creative or more like observational. And I ended up going the more observational route just because it lessened the mental load on having to think about what I wanted to draw against the prompt. If I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to draw against the prompt, then I would pop into Google Images prompt and choose an image from that page to just draw against, or at least start from there. The tools that I used a Hanemule travel booklet. I think that is how you pronounce the name. Could be wrong. And I used a mix of fine liners. So over the month, my favorite became the brush tip pen, just because I really liked the varying line widths that you could get. And also my shaky hands, especially if I was drawing in the morning after gym, like my shakiness wouldn't be as obvious if I used a brush with a wider tip. So what I learned from completing Inktober this year. Firstly, sketches and studies are very, 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 very important. This might be a little bit of a naive assumption from me, but like I feel like most people understand this idea where it's important and helpful to plan out your drawings, have sketches, have studies of the thing that you're going to draw. But this concept really never got embedded into my mind until having done Inktober multiple times. Having attempted Inktober a couple of times using a medium that is not very forgiving at all made me realize the importance of sketches and studies before you dive into your final, I guess your actual drawing. Do your sketches, practice your studies, it will really help with composition and understanding what you're drawing. My second learning is that constraints are helpful, like prompts are helpful, but they doesn't always boost creativity. It does help to have guidance through limitation in order to stretch and develop ideas and the way that you can use different media. That's why prompt challenges exist, in order to try and stretch those creative juices. In previous years, I've really enjoyed creating scenarios or small narratives using those prompts, but this time around, yeah, I definitely relied on Google Images to provide that direction and to reduce that mental load and decision fatigue on what to draw. I feel like there's a tension between quality and quantity, which does lead into my third point, which is the drawings don't need to be perfect. If you've drawn the thing before, you can draw it again. Also, I think the point of Inktober is almost a bit more about like developing that habit in order to just like make things happen, like do the thing as opposed to like do it well. So with the goal for me personally to finish all the prompts within the month of October, I really had to rely on the phrase of done is better than perfect. Done is better than good. I personally think I set a decently high bar for like what I consider as good and like good quality for myself, and there were definitely times where I had to lower that standard for Inktober this year. Otherwise, I would spend too long on a drawing, not draw at all because I would be mentally stuck with that blank page paralysis, or feel like the potential drawing just wouldn't be good enough. And so it is 100% better to have tried, to reflect on what went well, what could have gone better, than to just like be stuck at the blank page kind of phase. So my Inktober experience this year, on the whole, I'd say was a lot better than what I expected. I'm so stoked at that, and that I managed to complete all of the prompts, despite some of the drawings not being as visually exciting as I would have liked. I think my top 3 favorites at the moment were the prompts for binoculars, for rust, and I think boots if I managed to finish it. Rust and binoculars I especially like because of the narrative that's kind of living within the drawing there. Boots just because I like the idea of the level of detail that I'd be able to get if I finished it. There's a number of these drawings within this sketchbook that I think could be improved or even just like finished. So with some extra time, I'll definitely revisit them and try and zhuzh them up a little. I would love to know if you attempted Inktober or a similar art challenge, either in October or in the past. Just let me know how it went, and I'm keen to hear how it's gone for you. Yeah, I'm glad Inktober is over, because now I get to focus on art and projects that I kind of really want to do and focus on. But actually, I'll be traveling in November, so I'm keen for that experience too. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!